All right, we're live. Welcome to the Bitcoin Daily Show. This is Craig LeBlanc, one of the 12 hosts with the Bitcoin Daily Show. We run a show every day, 8 to 10 a.m. Eastern on X. We also have a second show we run on Saturday from 10 to 12, but we've been running for approaching 300 straight days. I think we're probably in the 270s, 280s right now. Have not missed a single day. And great content. Every show is different show hosts. I run the show on Sunday, but all my other show hosts are doing so well. And one of them found and brought on Daniel as a guest, which is doing some amazing work with his book and just his life story. And so I really just wanted to give him more of an exclusive interview so we could learn more about him and kind of capture it and put it on the YouTube channel and a lot of other places, because I just think it's guys like him we need to lift up and really support the work they're doing. So welcome to the show, Daniel. How are you doing today?
Doing very well. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
And now, where are you calling from?
I'm in Dubai.
Oh, no. Are you living there?
Yeah. I just moved here in February.
Tell us all about it. So I hear great things about Dubai. It's like, I think there was this kind of misnomer that whatever, it might not be the greatest place, but every time I hear somebody come from it, they're like, this is like heaven on earth kind of thing.
I mean, I'm going to give you the really boring answer, the middle of the road answer, which is like, it just depends on what you want and what you're into. Part of the reason I moved here is because some of my family lives here. My mom recently moved here. My sister relocated here. So, I have two daughters. My sister has some kids. So it's nice for the cousins to be all together. It's nice for us all to be with my mom, the kids to be with my kids to be with their grandma. So the family aspect of it was a big pull. And I grew up in Hong Kong, living a sort of like expat lifestyle. I'm from Spain originally, but I lived in Hong Kong for 25 years. So that's where I consider home. But,
Wow.
all my friends there were from all over the world. So coming to Dubai is kind of like that as well. There's people from all over the place. It's a cosmopolitan city. There's a lot of people here, doing business, just trying to make it, so to speak. So it's nice in that respect, but it's super hot. It's like deathly hot.
I bet. Well, I'm in New Orleans, which is kind of hot and muggy, but I don't know if we're as hot as where you're at. What's the temperature over there?
I mean, it's like 45 Celsius. It's like 120 Fahrenheit, I think.
Oh my gosh.
It can go up to like 50 Celsius sometimes in the middle of a day.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so you were actually born and raised in Tokyo then?
No. So I was born in Spain. My whole family is Spanish, but my parents left Spain actually before I was born. They moved to Portugal. They went back to Spain to have me, but we lived in Portugal straight from when I was born. Then I lived there for 2 years. Then I lived in Brazil for 6 years. And then I moved to Hong Kong in 1996. And I lived in Hong Kong from 96 until 2021. So pretty much my whole life.
Hong Kong then. So how was it like living in Hong Kong? Because that's I actually did business with Shenzhen, which is kind of pretty much the same city. They kind of touch one another today, but that's like a huge metropolitan area. It's one of the biggest on the planet, I believe, huh?
So yeah, it's one of the most densely populated, but it's actually quite small. So there's just a lot. There's 8 million people crammed into I think it's like 500 square meter, 500 square kilometers or something. Don't quote me, but somewhere in the hundreds of square kilometers. So
sure.
Super densely packed. Like everyone lives in high rises. Real estate is super expensive, but it is an incredible city.
What did your parents do there? What brought them to Hong Kong?
So my dad worked for the same Spanish manufacturing company for like 42 years. He started off loading trucks for them in his hometown. Then he got a job in sales, and then he got moved overseas to do sales, and then he got moved somewhere else to open a factory, and that's how we ended up in Hong Kong. His company was opening a factory, or the company he worked for was opening a factory and an office in Hong Kong and Guangzhou, which is a city neighboring Shenzhen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the factory of the world right there.
Yep.
I had two partners that owned factories right there. What type of factory was it?
They made latex products.
Okay.
So stuff like mattresses, like shoe insoles, goalkeeper glove, the palm of the goalkeeper gloves, like that goes in footballs, that kind of stuff, yoga mats.
The good stuff.
Yep.
It's everywhere. We manufactured LED lights for cities, and
Cool.
all over this country, about 300 cities. Retired and exited from that company, and now here I am, pouring my life's work into Bitcoin, like yourself.
Nice.
Okay, so then Dubai. What was the move caused by there? Family, or you decided to pick up and leave?
So I got married. I met my wife in Hong Kong. We got married in 2019, and then in 2021, we're expecting our first child, and we kind of just felt like it was a good opportunity to move to. I'd been in Hong Kong 25 years. My wife had been there for like 6 years. She wanted to. She's British, so she was keen to go closer to home, especially when seeing as we're having a baby. And yeah, I thought, being in Hong Kong for 25 years, I was transitioning from my previous career. Before I got into Bitcoin, I used to be a real estate agent in Hong Kong, a real estate broker, as you guys would call it. And I knew I wanted to transition out of that to do something on the internet. I just didn't quite know what. I knew it was like, I'm either going to like do YouTube or learn to code or something. It was like media or code. And then I discovered Bitcoin. So in the process of moving to the UK, I was also sort of transitioning out of my real estate career, became obsessed with Bitcoin, started my Twitter account, and I ended up getting a job at Brains, the Bitcoin mining company, literally as a social media marketing intern. But yeah, so we moved back for like personal family reasons. Well, she was moving back. I kind of had never lived in the UK. I went to university there. But yeah, we moved back there, and then literally we made the decision a year ahead of time, and in that year is when I got into Bitcoin. And so moving to UK and having capital gains tax, I was like, this is not going to work for a Bitcoin to live life on a Bitcoin standard. So we moved to the Isle of Man, which is a small island in between the UK and Ireland in the Irish Sea, and it's what's called a British Crown dependency. So it's like owned by the king, but it's its own separate country with separate rules and laws and stuff, and it has a much friendlier tax. It's a much friendlier tax jurisdiction. So we moved there because it was still near the UK, similar lifestyle, but much friendlier for dealing with Bitcoin.
Mm-hmm.
But we ended up it was a bit too small and isolated for us. So
I guess so. Coming to Hong Kong, that must have been a shock.
Yeah, and then we were like, oh, should we move back to Hong Kong or should we move? It was basically like we were deciding between moving back to Hong Kong or moving to Dubai, and we came to visit Dubai, and we just felt it was much more child friendly. We have like my daughters are 3 and 1, so at this stage in their life, Dubai is a better place for them to be than Hong Kong.
Yeah. Now, why do you say that? Is it just feels like a very safe city, or seems more family friendly, or what's?
Yes, Hong Kong and Dubai are both super safe. I would put them on equal footing in terms of safety. Hong Kong just has much more expensive real estate. So if you move to Hong Kong, your burn rate's going to be a lot higher. You're going to be paying a lot more rent, and you're going to be living in a smaller place. Whereas in Dubai, it's still expensive real estate by it's a major. But in terms of major cities, I would say it's one of the more affordable cities to live. Like you can get you can get a 3 or 4 bedroom house for like 3,000 US, whereas in Hong Kong you'd be looking to pay like 7,000, so almost double and it wouldn't even be a similar thing. Like here, it's a new build in a complex with like amenities. In Hong Kong, it would just be like a flat somewhere in Hong Kong. Yeah. So then just everything's just much more kid friendly. You can have having a car in Hong Kong is tough. It's super expensive. Parking is expensive. Dubai has a lot of traffic, but Hong Kong's probably maybe even worse. So then you have to take public transport everywhere, and with babies and car seats and prams and all that stuff, it's just not that practical to hop in a taxi with carrying all this stuff and then have to, So Dubai worked better.
You said pram. What is that? I've never heard that word.
Oh, sorry, a stroller.
Got it.
That's a British word for for a stroller.
For pram, we're learning here. We're bringing cultures together.
Yeah, I'm not even British, but
so you said $3,000 a month for a 3 to 4 bedroom.
I mean, yeah, that's like this is for like a townhouse or a villa, so maybe you can go cheaper than that if you went into an apartment or something like that. But I'm talking like if you have a family and you want some outdoor space and whatever, then yeah, 3 to 4 thousand you can do. You're gonna live. You're not gonna live in this. You're not living like central. You're living like 30 or 40 minutes outside the main hubs. But Dubai is like all highways, so you just hop on the highway and it's just like straight driving for 30 to 40 minutes, depending on where you want to go.
So what's it's like as far as like restaurants, food, amenities, stuff like that? Is it as a city? I guess it's got everything another big city has.
Yeah, I would say Dubai is probably the most convenient city that I've ever been to. Like, you don't have to go anywhere if you don't want. You can have everything delivered instantly. When I was for example, when we came to visit, I had my daughter's iPad in the bottom of her stroller, and I folded the stroller up, and it crushed the iPad. So when we were staying with my sister. When we got back to my sister's house, there's an app that's kind of like a Postmates or whatever. And I guess for you guys, maybe now that I said that, maybe it sounds stupid for you guys because you have Postmates, but I guess I was coming from Isle of Man. There's no Postmates. So I just went on Postmates, ordered an iPad, and it was there 15 minutes later.
Wow.
Yeah, you can also so one of the things that's awesome here as well is there's petrol. Like, you don't really have to go to a gas station. There's a company that has just trucks that roam around the city, and you just order your gas to your house and they come in a truck and fill up your car at home. So like I did it last night before I went to bed. I did a gas order and they came at like 1 a.m. and filled up both of my cars.
Wow, I've never even heard of that. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's called Cafu, Cafu. I'd never heard of that before I came to Dubai. But yeah, I'm like, sometimes I can be a bit obsessive about like hyper optimizing for time. I hate doing things that I feel like, going to the supermarket or what. I'm like, why wouldn't you just shop online for everything? You never have to go stand in the queue.
Everything.
Yeah. So the like petrol delivery, I'm like, the gas delivery. I'm like, I love this. Yeah. You just focus on Bitcoin and Twitter.
What are some other hacks that you have as far as time savings and stuff? I love these things.
Oh man. I mean, we have, so similar to Hong Kong, in Dubai, there is a culture where people have domestic help. So full-time live-in nannies, or somebody that just like cleans and cooks for you and lives with you. So in Hong Kong, I grew up with like a live-in nanny until I was, I think, 10 or 11. From like 8 to 10 or 11. I think at that point it was when I was like, I got annoyed that she would like clean my room and I wouldn't be able to find stuff. And we were just growing up a bit. So we switched to just like part-time cleaning help. But that's something that is very common here, just because there's so many people that come over from countries like Indonesia, Philippines to do this kind of work. And so a lot of people have domestic help here. It's awesome. Like we have a nanny and she's amazing with the kids, a fantastic cook, helps us just with household chores. She got her driver's license. So it's just like having a third parent, which is incredible.
Right.
Yeah, I get, my wife doesn't work, but I don't know if you have kids, but even just, one person handling two little kids is insane. That's the hardest job in the world. So it's nice for her to have some help. And I can also go off and do my work and not be worried about if she's overwhelmed or I should be there or whatever else. So
yeah. I actually have a lot of kids, and we had help growing up. We would have help. Gosh, they didn't live with us. Well, actually, a couple times they did. There were times that we had 3 in diapers at the same time. I actually have 11 kids, so.
Oh wow, that's incredible.
But there were times where there were so many diapers that we just needed help. So we did have a live-in for a while, and then they came over. After that, probably 4 or 5 times a week they would come over, and I tell you, they're little miracle workers. We couldn't have done our job without them.
They're like part for us. It's like, the nanny I grew up with, she was like part of our family. Same in Brazil, it was common as well. So we had one in Brazil as well. I still speak to her. I'm 37. I still have her on Instagram, and we exchange messages from time to time. So like, they become a part of your family. They love your kids as much as you love your kids, which is also really nice. It's nice to have someone like that is, that you can let into your home, let into your family, and be comfortable with them. It's incredible.
Yeah, we probably had about 8 over the years, and we remember each of them. They all had their own personality. Some of them didn't even speak English, so my children loved trying to communicate with them. But there were times where we were traveling and we didn't have anyone with us, and then we had to get settled. And when we didn't have them with us, it was so much turmoil. Everything was just messy.
Yeah. Just trying to think if I have some other, that's obviously like a labor time hack. Just trying to think if I have any other hacks that would be interesting.
One thing I was discussing with someone the other day is that I feel like so much of my time is spent plugged in that I forget about this physical body, physical world out here, because I feel like my whole mind, my mission, my community, my network, my relationships, even with like everybody on the Bitcoin Daily, is so on the other side of the screen. It almost feels weird coming out here and operating. And it's just like, I want this physical world to be super efficient, which is kind of what attracted me to Bitcoin, is just capital efficiency at its finest.
Yeah.
And
I thought you were going to say something like, use a walking treadmill because you're always on the computer and that was how you get your steps in whilst you can be, because you know why my mind went there? Because I'm literally looking at getting one right now because I'm in the office like 10 hours a day. And it's so, usually I would go out for a walk in the middle of the day or whatever, but it's so hot here, you can't go outside in the middle of the day. So I get my walks in either like 5 a.m. or 6 p.m. But, sometimes you just get the cabin fever. If you've been sitting at your desk for 10 hours, you get cabin fever. I need to do something.
So one of my favorite hosts, he's actually my first host ever that we started working together on the Bitcoin Daily. His name is Matt, or Macro Minutes is what he's called. And he's practically a world-class rower. He is a nationally ranked rower, and he's at nationals, I think, right now, competing in America for a rowing competition. And he always says that the Bitcoin Daily Show, it's 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. for me. He says we're Craig's workout playlist, because I start the Daily Show and then I go to the park and I start running and doing lunges and doing all kind of stuff, and then I chime in. But sometimes I chime in and I'm completely out of breath. So if it weren't for that activity, I may not get a workout if it weren't for that habit.
Right. That's an awesome way to get it in.
Yeah. But you can only do it with audio. I couldn't do it with video. I'd be, running all over the place.
Yeah, I'm doing. So I'm taking an online course right now, and it was like the introductory call was last night, and I did it walking.
What course are you taking?
It's called Premium Ghostwriting Academy.
How does that help you? What is that? What brought you there?
Yes. So I left. So I worked for Brains for the last 3 years. Brains is, for people that aren't familiar with Brains, Brains owns what used to be called Slush Pool, which is the first ever Bitcoin mining pool. It's now rebranded to Brains Pool, but they operated it on behalf of Slush, which is the guy who made Slush Pool. He's one of the co-founders of Satoshi Labs that makes Trezor. Yeah. So Brains took over and then purchased Slush Pool from Slush. They also make firmware, like an operating system for Bitcoin miners, firmware for Bitcoin miners, that lets you get more hash rate for the same power consumption versus the stock firmware in a miner. So if you install Brains OS Plus, you're mining more Bitcoin for the same cost, let's say. So you increase your margins. And I did marketing and content and stuff for them for 3 years.
And at the end, that makes Trezor, you said?
No. So Slush, the guy who started Slush Pool, who then sold it to Brains, he's the co-founder of Satoshi Labs, which owns Trezor and several other companies. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, a lot of people think Brains is like a subsidiary of Satoshi Labs, but it's not. It's just that they operated Slush Pool. They had like an agreement with Slush, and then they ended up buying Slush out of Slush Pool. And so Brains is a separate company that just bought a business off Slush, basically, the mining pool business. But yeah, I did that for 3 years, and at the end of before Bitcoin, I had my own real estate business, which I exited before I got into Bitcoin, or as I got into Bitcoin, and yeah, I've always wanted to do my own thing. So I knew getting into Bitcoin, I was going to have to like sort of start from the bottom, so to speak, learn a new set of skills. I was also learning about Bitcoin, so getting acquainted with just like what Bitcoin is, how it works, and all of that. And I figured once I have enough knowledge and I've learned some new set of skills, I can then go out on my own and figure something to do for myself. So that was at the end of December. I just decided, I was like, this Twitter thing seems to be going well. That's essentially like writing online. That's media in a way.
Was that, you
So
said December of last year, or?
yeah, so December 23 was when I left Brains. So that was, I think it was, almost 3 years at Brains. And yeah, just decided to double down on writing on the internet because that's what seemed to be going well for me. And that's a lot of the stuff I was doing for Brains. So that's why I started writing the books. And I was just going to take some time to basically upskill, learn about writing, continue writing on Twitter. And then I came across the idea for the books. I'm writing the books. But I think now, looking at the types of businesses I can go into, an agency business seemed to make a lot of sense. I had a lot of people reach out to me asking me to help them with Twitter, with marketing, just because they've seen like that my account's done well. So Premium Ghostwriting Academy is just it's a course that teaches you how to do ghostwriting, how to set up ghostwriting as a business, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah. And so for those that don't know, explain what ghostwriting is. And for yours mainly ghostwriting for Twitter accounts that want to grow their following. Let me see if I can do a terrible job of explaining it, and then you can come and clean up my mess. So if you have an account, you're a company, you're just an influencer or a wannabe influencer, you could hire someone or work with someone like yourself. And now you've got someone in the background kind of taking your vision and your mission and what you want and helping you write the content for it and post it and that kind of stuff. Where am I wrong? Correct me on this.
Correct. Yeah. So there's loads of different types of ghostwriting. I guess if your ghostwriting is actually mostly ghostwriting on behalf of a person. Otherwise, you're just kind of like if you're doing it for a company, it's like you're just a content marketing company. I think specifically the ghostwriting is like when it's like, Craig in Craig's name, but I'm the one writing tweets, right? But it's not that I'm making stuff up and saying it on your account. Basically, what happens is, well, at least the way I'm going about it is, it's for people who appreciate the value of having a personal brand and specifically the value that it has to a business that they might be attached to. Either they're a founder or an executive of that business, but they're running the business, so they don't have time to sit on Twitter all day. They might have a lot of like proprietary knowledge and interesting things to say, but they don't know how to package it. They don't know how to write well. They don't know how to deliver their knowledge on Twitter in a way that works, that's effective. So that's where I come in. I know the types of there's like formats and just proven ways to present information that just works. And people who aren't content specialists don't know these things, but they have knowledge that would be valuable to share. And it would be valuable for them to have a personal brand, to have a following for them and for their business. And so we just work together. Basically, what happens is like we have a weekly call where that's how I extract all the information from that person's brain. And then I schedule a series of tweets or threads for that week. And then we do it all over again, see what works, see what doesn't work. The person has to approve the tweets, to make sure that they're written in their voice and all of that. So it's still the person. They're just not physically sitting down and writing themselves.
Right. Right. And then if you're trained in that and that is your focus, you just get so much better at representing that person and still having the skill set and developing the skill set of when to tweet, how long the tweets are, what's working in the platform that day. You're staying up to speed on all that, which is a skill set that takes quite a lot of time to develop.
I mean, I've tweeted 50,000 times in 3 years. I've lived on Twitter like
That
10, 12 hours a day, every day since I started my account. So I'm there. It changes all the time though. Something that works today might not work tomorrow. So that's why you have to stay in well, there's certain content fundamentals that work on any platform. You just might have to format things or change things per platform, but there's certain content pillars that just work everywhere. But yeah, I just feel like I feel like I have this internal compass for Twitter. I just understand it's like me and Twitter, like I can feel the timeline in me
Yeah.
and know what's going to work, what's not. Like I'm so in tune with it, right?
Yeah.
Because I spend so much time on there. So it's not, it's like platform. I'm a specialist on the Twitter platform. Like I can navigate Twitter and like shoot out 50 tweets really quickly. Whether they're replies or actual tweets on my timeline or retweets or whatever. So there's that. Some people just like don't know how to. They haven't been on Twitter that much. They don't know how to use it. Right? For them to like create a post might take them 45 minutes, and for me, it takes me 2 minutes.
Wow.
Right? Just because they don't know what buttons to press or where to go or whatever. Right? They might put a link in a post. They don't understand that links, means that your tweet gets pressed or whatever. So there's that there's that platform knowledge, and then there's also the wider just knowing how to package a piece of information in a way that it does well on that platform.
Yeah, so for my Philosophy Sunday shows, I follow a lot of philosophy X accounts, and they will have these really powerful images with philosophical quotes and then a little paragraph above it. And then they comment right below that with the second one and the third one. And there's like a thread of like 8 or 9 tweets or comments on top of the main one back to back. And it's so well crafted as just a group. And when they post it, the hits that thing gets is just amazing. But you could tell it's very well thought out. You don't feel like you're being duped into it. You want to click the next one and the next one, and I click all the way to the end. I'm a sucker for it every single time. And because I'm somewhat new to Twitter, I can see that the master's hands of people like yourself that are really have a lot of experience in working and know what works well. And so I can imagine after 50,000 tweets, the level of mastery you're wielding over there, Daniel.
I mean, yeah, I still feel like sometimes I still feel because it's not all of it is not a science. There's still an art to it.
Yes.
So sometimes there'll be a tweet where I'm like, this is really average and it does really well. Sometimes I'm like, this is a banger and no one cares. So you don't get it right 100%. One of the things I've also learned is that because you can't know all the time, volume is just really helpful. Especially because your tweets reach probably like 1% of your followers, if that. So, you might think like, oh, all these people are going to see this stupid tweet and like, they're going to think I'm dumb. No one's going to see it. Like you wish that your tweets got so much reach that everyone on Twitter thought you were stupid for what you were tweeting. That would be amazing. Cause that means like you're reaching a lot of people.
I think BT Cosmonaut Weston, he's our Tuesday show. He probably tweets more than all of us, of all the hosts, him, and I'd say Mars as well. And Macro is kind of in there as well. But as far as they really do maybe 10 tweets a day, very well thought out. And he says the same thing. He'll say, man, this one I never thought would hit. It's like his best one. And the one he's like, this is going to kill it, gets nothing. It's just flat.
Yeah. I mean, with threads, sometimes I might spend like 10 to 20 hours preparing. Okay, my Wences Casares thread, I probably spent like 20 hours just writing the thread, plus God knows how many dozens and dozens or hundreds of hours researching to get the knowledge to even be able to write it. But I also spend about, I would say 60 to 80% of the time just on the first tweet, because that's the hook that's going to get you to click to read the rest of it. And there is a thing in writing that the further you get someone along your piece, the more likely they are to finish it. It's kind of like a sunk cost fallacy, right? They've already read so much of it, they might as well finish it.
You're committed.
Right. So the further down you can get someone, the more likely they are to read the whole thing. And so there's like this thing in copywriting that's like the point of the headline is to get you to read the first sentence, and the point of the first sentence is to get you to read the second sentence, and so on and so forth until it's called they call it the slippery slope, right? Until the reader's like so in there that they're going to finish your piece.
So can you maybe complete that framework for us? Is there anything else? Like say you've got an image, you've got a tripwire or a hook, and then the rest is buried into comments. Like walk us through the framework of a good tweet. You're better.
Yeah. There's so many different, like if you're doing, for example, just as a content pillar, right? Let's say in terms of demonstrating expertise, the things that work really well right now is a how-to something. So like BTC Sessions is an excellent example. He's literally built a career on how-to content, right?
Yes.
You want to set up a cold card, you want to set up whatever wallet, you want to set up a node, you want to understand or explainers, right? Understand how this works, understand how that works. Or listicles work really well on Twitter as well. So like 7 ways you can stack KYC free sats, or 5 hardware wallets that you can use if you want to self-custody your Bitcoin, or 3 exchanges that charge low fees. You can come up with an infinite number of these kind of like listicle things. But yeah, you want to give the like the Wences Casares thread, for example, is like you state several incredible facts about him that make you want to know, like, oh, they're either like authority building, like, oh, he's done this amazing stuff, I want to learn more about him, or he's done this amazing stuff, I definitely want to read his life lessons. If it was like, I've exited 3 companies for $1 billion, here's my 7 business lessons, like, you're going to click on that if you're interested in business, because you're like, this guy obviously knows a lot about business. Right. So it's that kind of stuff. Or it's like, for example, for me, it could be like, I've tweeted 50,000 times in 3 years and grown my account from 0 to 80,000 followers. Here's like my 7 tips for growing a Twitter account.
Yeah.
So.
And then, yeah, that's great. And then what's that's called, a list?
That would be like a listicle. That's like what's known as a listicle.
Article and list.
Yeah.
Combined.
Yeah.
All right.
You get these, like, this is very famous, like BuzzFeed. BuzzFeed is like the 11 whatever is.
Right. Top 10 list.
Yeah, or like, don't make these 7. Are you looking to hire a marketing person? Don't make these 7 mistakes. And it's like, well, I'm hiring a marketing person. I need to know what these 7 mistakes are so I don't make them. And then, yeah.
Yeah, it's always easier to sell painkillers than vitamins.
Yeah.
So how are people going to be able to work with you, or give me let's say you had a person that says, I really want to work with Daniel. Once a week we do a phone call. What's the pricing structure? What's the time commitment from them? Like, just, I know there's probably different levels, but just to help people understand. I'm assuming that there's other people like you out there that you're basically just going to become almost like an army of specialists that can help content creators really amp up and get there faster, and maybe even provide higher quality content.
Yeah, so I haven't. So I'm working on my offer at the moment. I'm not working with anyone yet. Speaking to my first couple of clients this week and next week, but it is basically as hands off for the because I'm targeting people who are too busy to do Twitter. So it's got to be as hands off for them as possible, whilst still them being able to give me, either knowledge or information that's in their head, or have some way to make sure that we're injecting their knowledge into the content that we create. So it's not just me coming up with stuff and writing it for them and they're like, sure. I mean, some people might want that, but I would highly recommend that it is your ideas. I will help you package them, but that they're your ideas, your knowledge. You might be, let's say that you're an exchange, like a Bitcoin exchange CEO. You might talk about like a custom, how many people are buying versus selling this week, or some customer success thing. You want to give case studies as like ways that people had a great experience on your product, or with your product, or with your service, right? So yeah, it'll be, if someone's already creating content on other platforms. So like, let's say there's an exec or a CEO somewhere that has a podcast, but they just don't tweet a lot. Then we don't have to have as many calls, because I can just take the podcast and turn those into Twitter content.
Right.
But for somebody who's not really creating content, that the cadence of those calls might have to be every week, right, so that we can produce. And let's say, I'm putting out a thread a week plus a couple of tweets a day. That would be the kind of volume for somebody that wants ghostwritten content.
And what is the market on this? Is this kind of like a $500 a month, $1,000 a month, $5,000 a month packages, depending on what they want? Like, I don't know. I have no idea where the market is on this.
Yes, for somebody that has like a proven track record and also has the industry specific knowledge, you can charge multiple thousands of dollars. Some people charge $10,000 a month. It also depends on the volume. Like, if you're doing 3 threads a week versus 1 thread a week. But I guess for like a premium ghostwriter, so somebody who's in your niche, who really understands the niche, who can help you, because I'm also going to be like suggesting, I know you. I know the kind of, I know the segment of the Bitcoin market you're in. These are some good content ideas that I think we should do. You just bring the knowledge, right? So like, for example, like we could give some case studies of like people that have used River. I'm just going with River because that just popped into my head, like as an exchange. River never goes down. That's like one of the things that's known about them, right? It never goes down when Coinbase goes down during bull markets, or Kraken goes down, or Gemini. River always works. So you could talk about, like, obviously with anonymity, our clients were able to stack this many sats whilst all the other exchanges were down. Like, that's not something that maybe a CEO might think about tweeting or talking about. But it's something I know would do really well. They just need to bring the information or the data to me, so that I can make a tweet like that. So yeah.
So let's say you have maybe a $10,000 a month corporate account like that. How many of those could a person like you manage? Could you manage 10 of those, 5 of those, or one will just be all you can handle?
So I think people can handle like 5 clients as like a single ghostwriter can probably do about 5 clients. If you're doing, like, let's say if you're doing a thread per week for each client, plus a couple of tweets a day, yeah, you're on 10 tweets a day and a thread every day. So that's probably about the limit of, and you also want to keep your own content going, right? Because your success on the platform is kind of also how you sell yourself.
Right. Right. Now
once you do, a few clients, you also can use their results for to show as case studies for your own work. You don't have to point to your own account, right? For a complete beginner who doesn't have a big account, they can't point to their own work, like say, oh, I've done this myself. They have to basically find someone that they can probably work for free, just to get them results, so that they can use those results later in their marketing to point to it and say, like, look, I grew this guy's account from this much or this much, or, we put out content that was targeted at his potential clients and he got X amount of new business from being on social. At the end of the day, as a ghostwriter, the way you can charge the most is if you make your clients the most money.
Right.
People will only pay so much just for followers and, status. At the end, I'm going for like founders and execs, because I think I can help them bring more business to their companies via them building a personal brand. Because also people want to buy from people. They don't want to buy from companies, right? Especially, okay, at the Apple level and whatever, you're not buying a phone because Tim Cook is cool. You're buying, but that's like a different level. We all operate at a level where your personality is a competitive advantage. Like, people might buy from you because of the way you are, because they like you, because they trust you, because they've seen you on Twitter, because they know you have 20,000 followers on Twitter, and the competition is not even on Twitter, or nobody knows who are the people behind the brand, right? It builds trust, right. It builds authority. So it helps you attract. I mean, it helps you also attract, if you're trying to hire, the personalities on Twitter. You're like, oh, I would love to work at this company. I see that guy on Twitter all the time. His tweets are cool. It must be cool to work there. Or, if you're talking about your business and you're trying to raise some money, investors are already going to know you when you go sit down with them and say, hey, I'm trying to raise X amount. Like, oh yeah, I follow your tweets. You seem like a cool guy. It makes everything becomes a warm lead.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now, you said you were in business and sales, you were in real estate. It seems like a lot of lessons kind of transferred into what you're doing now. And so tell me where how did you compile the body of knowledge you have right now in sales and marketing? Maybe go through the building blocks from your life that got you to where you are today. I did maybe 5 years in real estate, then I did business, then I sat on Twitter for, 10,000 hours. Like,
yeah. So I can point to a few things. So During my school years, I worked as I taught English as a second language I taught English as a second language to local Hong Kong children, and I tutored local Hong Kong children. So sales is a little bit about education, or a lot about education sometimes. So that helped, although it was completely unintentional. This is just like, I was in a lift once and a woman was like, "Hey, do you want to tutor my kids?" It was in the same building that I lived in. I was like, "Sure, I'll make, whatever, $25 an hour as a 16-year-old doing math homework and English homework with your kids." But yeah, that just like snowballed. That was like my, my summer jobs. I worked at like kindergartens and schools as like educational assistant and doing that. So I think that helped, right? Having to teach. I also worked as a waiter. I think like part of sales is customer service, and being a waiter is about like the most intense customer service role that you can have. I feel, you're face to face, trying to wait 17 million tables, like trying to, have a good attitude, make sure people are getting the food correctly and they're having a good time. And just, so I think that helped too. And then my first job out of university, I was a time critical shipment coordinator. So this is like when a car factory in Mexico goes down because like some part broke. They need to fly it from the factory in China, and every hour the manufacturing is down, for it's like someone that makes a part for like a Ford car. Ford is penalizing them with hundreds of thousands of dollars per hour that manufacturing is down. So these people, like these companies, are willing to pay for somebody to physically get on a plane with a part and fly across the world. I used to coordinate those shipments.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't do I coordinated, so like the courier. So I had to like find out, Billy, are you available to get on a flight to LA right, in the next 3 hours? Whilst like somebody's going to pick up the part from the factory in China and bring it to the airport in Hong Kong. So that was also like customer service, and I had to have very clear communication. As you can imagine, like when you're communicating, flights and all these different things and pickups and addresses, like everything has to be absolutely spot on. Yeah, and the client's paying you like 5,000 US to fly, a microchip across the world. And then getting into, I did that for a year, and then I started working at a property brokerage, in a real estate brokerage in Hong Kong. And I would say that was where I really learned everything. So like negotiating, I did leasing and sales, but I must have I was doing like between 20 and 35 deals a year between leasing and sales. And I did that for 8 years. So a lot of volume of, negotiating. There was a lot of it was written as well. So that kind of helped me.
A lot of reps.
And to negotiate, I usually try to pick up the phone to do a negotiation because it's just easier to, like, the nuances of everything carry across. You can react and respond to what your client is saying much better on the phone than you can by email. But a lot of it was still done by email. I kind of exited just as like the whole WhatsApp stuff came in, where nobody wanted to answer a phone call anymore, and it was all about WhatsApp. But that really helped. And actually, I was obsessed with drumming when I just remember this. I was obsessed with drumming when I was a kid. And one of the wonderful things about the internet is that you can find your tribe online. If you don't have other people in your physical world, in your city or whatever, that are into the thing you can find your tribe online. So I used to frequent a forum that was for drummers called House of Drumming. And I became one of the most frequent posters there when I was like, between 14 and 17 or 18.
Wow.
So that was kind of like, it was like Bitcoin Twitter, but for drumming, and it was on a forum instead of on a social media platform. So I did I did like 500 or 600 posts on that forum as well. So again, a lot of writing, which helped for Twitter. And then, so I did the real estate thing for 8 years. So all the negotiating. I have to spend, when you do a viewing, I might show 12 apartments to someone in one viewing, spend 3 or 4 hours with them, people from all over the world, all walks of life, CEOs to like, fresh graduates, depending on the like budget range I was working in my career. And yeah, so you just have to be personable and be able to talk to people. I actually consider myself an introvert. I enjoy, like, since I left part of the reason I left Hong Kong was like I knew I wanted to start over in my career, and so I needed to focus and not be distracted. In Hong Kong, I had my lifelong friends, so it was always someone's birthday or come out for beers. Let's go do this. Let's go do that. I'm in the football team. Lots of socializing and distractions. And so by leaving, I never made friends outside of Hong Kong. Well, except for like at conferences and with people on Twitter and stuff. So with Bitcoiners, but that's the odd time when I go to when I go to a conference. But at home, I am literally a saint. I'm on Twitter. I'm working. I'm learning about Bitcoin, or I'm learning about writing, or upskilling myself in some way or another.
How many hours would you say you've spent so far on Twitter?
I think I've done, if not 10,000, close to it.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's literally a 40 hour a week job for 5 straight years.
I mean, I've spent probably 16 hours. I think, yeah, I mean, there's probably been few hours, like the number of hours that I've not checked Twitter or been on Twitter in the last 3 years is like when I'm sleeping.
So what have you learned? What has this journey been like? So from when you started, you recognized something. What brought you on Twitter? What kept you on Twitter? And what's keeping you like, this is the platform kind of thing?
So what brought me on Twitter is I heard about Bitcoin in 2017. And I don't know, I think I already had a Twitter account. I just happened to like decide to go on Twitter. I don't know where this came from, but I just went on Twitter and I was like, I'm going to learn about this Bitcoin thing. So let me go on Twitter and follow as many crypto accounts as I can. And this is like, I didn't know the difference between Bitcoin and crypto or whatever.
Sure.
So I was just,
yeah.
Right. And then actually in like after Bitcoin tanked, I was like, because I was like a skeptic. I was like, it's a bubble. It has no intrinsic value. It's open source software. Anyone could just copy it. Like, I don't get this. So when it crashed in 2018, I was like, see, I was right. I think I deleted Twitter. So I started it back. I started another account again in 2019. I don't know why. Oh, I think I started going on Wall Street Bets on
Why'd
Reddit.
you delete it? You just thought it was like one of these TikTok time wasters and you just had to get rid of it?
Yeah. I've gone through, like, I deleted Facebook, I deleted Twitter. I'm like, I'm just doom scrolling. I need to get on with, like, more important things than this. It wasn't like it is now, which is like very valuable to me. It was just like doom scrolling. And I was like, okay, this crypto thing, I'm not interested in it anymore. I don't need to know about it. Like, I just deleted the account. So I restarted again in 2019. I think I started going on Wall Street Bets. And for whatever reason, I must have started a Twitter account again to follow something or someone. And in 2020 was like sort of when I understood Bitcoin. I was already following a few accounts, probably like, safety and the usual suspects. But yeah, as I was in the process of exiting my business, I was actually in a disagreement with my business partner. And so I didn't want him to know that I was getting into Bitcoin as we were exiting the business, as we were like sort of separating and I was exiting the business. So that's why I created the Anon account. I also remembered, Satoshi's anonymous and all these people I follow on crypto Twitter were anonymous as well. So, that must be the thing that people do around here, which is great because then I don't have, I can obsess about Bitcoin without having it, in my own name, my business partner finding out about it. And then the reason I stayed on Twitter was just because I just learned so much and I had so much fun. I still do all the time. And there's also you're getting engagement, you're meeting people, you're getting all these benefits. It's positive reinforcement. So
yeah,
and the dopamine. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, the dopamine of like having a tweet that does well is incredible. Like, it's like a drug.
It really is. And it's almost like I was big into, and I don't know if you had this background, but when I was younger, I was big into Command and Conquer games, and I would play them till the point of mental exhaustion. Like my body would start failing, and then I would be like, "Okay, guys, I got to unplug. I'm shutting down." So,
like Red Alert.
Yes, and so it's amazing how it's almost like the gamification of social media, of attention, of holding people, grabbing people's attention, holding people's attention, gaining followers. It reminds me a lot of the blocking and tackling that went on with Command and Conquer games, where you just, I remember like this one game, you would play it, but then you would replay the exact same game and you would learn all the different efficiency hacks and tricks. And by the time you played this for a few months, your click speed, where you went, the men you sent to here, the miners you sent to here, the resources you gathered, it was just like artwork just unfolding in front of you. But it took that repetition stuff. And I see the same thing playing out in social media, building accounts, that you just have to kind of master it's like an obstacle course that soon you can almost do blindfolded, and you get good at it. Did you have that same experience, or did you game when you were younger?
I used to game, yeah. I wasn't like I mean, I gamed, but I guess I didn't understand that, like, it's made, there's like, it's pushing all these psychological buttons in you that make you want to keep going, where I kind of get that now, and I don't really game anymore. Yeah, as I became older and sort of more, I had more of a mission and I was more driven, I just axed anything that's like, oh, this is just for fun. No, because I have fun learning.
Yes.
So I'm just like, my entertainment is watching things that I'm interested in. Like, I will very rarely watch Netflix or a movie or whatever, because I'm like, oh, what's the point of this? Like,
Yep.
I can get fun and knowledge, or fun and upskill myself at the same time.
Same.
Yeah. Like, I very rarely have the thing where I was like, I need to veg out and just not think. I'm like, no, I need to think more.
Yes. Yeah, me too. And it drives some of my close friends crazy, because they're like, do you ever turn it off? And I'm like, I'm not trying to keep it on. That's just the way it is.
Yeah. Like, it is hard. I mean, it's an effort to turn it off, and it's effortless to just do it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely. I have been really digging deep into mindfulness and meditations, and just really trying to shut down what I think is, so that I can open up to what I don't know. And it is work.
Yep.
It is work shutting that mind down, because it's just always on. And I think, and maybe, so what are your thoughts around this always being on? Which is what you can do with this social media and a lot of this other stuff is, but I know for you, it's on in a different way. It's not what do you call the doom scrolling, but it's more or less you're learning, you're building. What's the difference between those two? Because it seems like the person that's addicted to the scroll, well, they're always on, but so are you. You're always on, but they are two different lives.
Well, I was going to say, like, I think I've just found a way to make it productive, so it's not like bad.
Yes.
Right? I guess it's like channeling it. You can channel an addiction to doing heroin, or you can channel an addiction to like becoming a marathon runner. Obviously, at the extremes, both aren't necessarily or healthy. But if you're running marathons to the point where you're like, can't even eat enough food and you're dying, like, that's not good, right? But yeah, I would say that not at the extremes, channeling your addiction to something that's like healthy for you, or that makes you money or whatever. There's people that are workaholics, like they're obsessed with work, but you can excuse it because it's work and I make money and I feed my family with this, right? Whereas if it was just like I was doing Twitter for fun, it would be hard. I would probably feel bad, and that's why I delete social media, because it's like, it's not drive. That's why I deleted social media in the past, right? Because it's not driving me towards my goals. But here, you're matching it something that, for some people, I see tweets about, oh, Twitter is awful and all this. I'm like, Twitter can be awful in parts, but overall, it's bloody awesome. The internet is amazing, right?
Yes.
And I think if you're struggling with it, you just need to like find a different way to relate to it, or find a different way to use it so that it serves you rather than it's like using you.
Yes. Yeah.
But I doom scroll. Like, I don't take my phone to bed, or I try not to take my phone to bed, because if I take my phone to bed, I will stay on Twitter for like way too late, and I'll keep just refreshing the feed. And because there's always something new, someone saying something, and I'm so fast with it that I can keep going forever.
Yeah. And that is a danger. It's just like a weapon, it can be used to defend yourself, or maybe kill a deer or something you're for game, or it can be used, to hurt people in a bad way. But it's not the weapon that's bad. I don't think. I think it's the person holding it. And so you can corrupt yourself in your own mind with Twitter, or you can use it to network and acquire. And maybe speak to this, because I had this issue. I built a manufacturing business that, well, first I had a service business where service technicians went out into the world. So I was managing men and machines and material. And I was like, I got to delete the labor portion of my company because that's where all of my problems come from. So then I started manufacturing lights in China, getting containers to my distribution center, distributing them. But then I'm like, atoms move so slow. They move at the speed of boats and UPS. And I'm like, I got to delete the material side. I need digital. It moves at the speed of light. I can. And so I think for entrepreneurs out there looking to start a business, I'm like, do I want to start a coffee shop where I'm like, I have employees and I'm having to move physical objects and I'm restricted to a single location? Or do I want digital acquisition, access to the globe of minds out there, and really live on the digital platforms? Because I think as an entrepreneur, you do have to kind of say an hour's an hour for me. So am I going to put an hour over here with all these problems? Or can I just start deleting some of these problems and build over here? And it looks like you've made that transition from actually selling physical property to digital property, even digital attention. And maybe can you walk us through that transition?
Yeah, look, it's funny you mentioned it. In 2016, I started I left the brokerage I was at, and I was like, these fools, I can do it better than them. Even though they were like venture backed and had 100 employees, I was like, I can do it better than them on my own with no money. Right. I was like 25. So I went out on my own. To be fair, I was better, just as a solo agent, I did better on my own than in the company, but I wasn't able to. I eventually like gave up because I realized, they have millions of dollars and 100 people. There's no way I can compete with that unless I raise some money or somehow become so profitable that I can bootstrap and get some people on, working with me. But yes, so I was trying to build a website for my new solo brokerage. And that's when I started. I was also like a very early user of Snapchat. So I would like vlog my entire day and all these amazing apartments that I was going to. I would sort of make Snapchat stories. And then when Instagram stories came, I switched to that. So I was already like in the social media game. I was like following Gary V. Do you know who Gary Vaynerchuk is?
Oh, yeah, so, I love that guy.
Yeah, so I was like I was obsessed with Gary V when I was like in my early 20s, the hustle, the entrepreneurship, and whatever.
Me too.
Yeah.
So the runner, what's his name? He's the Navy SEAL that does the ultra marathons. I can't believe David Goggins.
Oh, David Goggins. Yeah, that was later. That came later. I was also obsessed with Casey Neistat at one point. I wanted to be a YouTuber. Ooh. Anyway, Casey, do you know who Casey Neistat is?
I might. Describe her to me. Is that the girl that does the?
No, it's a guy. It's a guy. He became famous because he started vlogging on YouTube every day when vlogging wasn't that much of a big thing, and he's just incredible. Like he was a filmmaker before. He was just a filmmaker that decided to start vlogging on YouTube. So he's got a one of his viral videos from before he started vlogging is bike lanes. He's complaining that he got a ticket for riding his bicycle outside the bike lane in New York. So he made this video, but he was saying that people block the bike lanes, which is why he has to ride outside it. And then he still got the ticket, and he made this video where he was just riding on the bike lane and he wouldn't get out of the way for anything. And he just crashed into trucks or, trash cans or even a police car at the end of the video. Wow. Anyway, yeah. But so in building this website and in getting to like a bit of social media, I realized like my job as a Hong Kong real estate agent is like the knowledge is specialized to one physical location. So I'm becoming an expert in a city. I can't go and work. I can't take that knowledge. Well, obviously some of it is transferable, but the market specific knowledge, I can't take that and go live somewhere else. And I'm working, physical appointments, working with people who have opposing wants, a landlord and a tenant or a seller and a buyer. And so I was like, I need to get into this internet thing like you, I need to go into the bits, into the digits.
Right.
So from 2016, that's when that bug bit me. And I realized like, it's much easier to scale code or media I read Naval Ravikant's thread, How to Get Rich Without Getting Lucky, when it first came out in 2018 or 2019. And one of the things, I have one of his tweets printed out. It's like, write code, or if you can't code, then write books, make podcasts, etc. Right? Scale. So that's the media or the code.
Right.
So I knew that's what I wanted to do. And when I was exiting my real estate business, well, actually, then I bought the real estate business. But the only reason I did that is because I was like, I can apply my knowledge and leverage other people's labor, because the business had employees and it had been running for like 15 years. So it's like, I can own a business that makes money, runs with me just overseeing it in an area I know a lot about. So I'm not wasting all this knowledge, but I'm still free in terms of like time commitment from the business. So I don't have to be working in the business. I just kind of work on the business. But yeah, after I exited that, I was going to learn to code. That was going to be the next. I was like, I decided coding is probably where the media, the digital thing, I should learn to code, because I can make a website, I can make an app, and then I, start a SaaS or whatever. But then I got into Bitcoin, started tweeting, and that kind of went well. Yeah. And even throughout the last 3 years, I've been like, oh, should I learn, Bitcoin? It's it's code. I can learn to code. I can work in Bitcoin. But I was like, I can speak English. I can't speak C++. So
yes,
to start again.
What you're doing right now is code, creating content, writing a book. In a way, it's its own code. And when you watch the masters of communication, they're writing code so masterfully. Like I follow Jordan Peterson as a guy that just, his way to manipulate the human language, the English language, is just astounding. And those that are good at it, if you can get good at just speaking and articulating your point and delivering a powerful message, stick with that. If you're born with that, or if you like it, I'd double down on that, because now the world can hear you today.
That's what I'm doing. Then the decision was like, do I want to start a service business? I was like, do I want to service clients? And then to scale a service business, I need to have employees. And so you have to deal with the labor thing. But I think I figured out the sweet spot is going to be, and this is what I wanted to do in my real estate career, which is why I left my brokerage. They wanted to grow at all costs. And I had I was managing a team of 13 agents. And I said to to the CEO of the company, I was like, if you let me scale the team back to like 6 people, I can probably triple the revenue, because I don't have to waste my time with the bottom 50% who aren't making any money. And for me to get the top performer to double her revenue, I can do that much more easily than I can going to the bottom performer and trying to get him to like even do a quarter of her revenue. Yeah. Right. So on like $1 out, on a $1 out per unit of effort in, it makes sense to focus on the ones where you can have like 2, 3, 4x the revenue, because they're good. But they just wanted to grow. They were like VC backed. They wanted to grow headcount. So it wasn't, I guess, like maybe revenue doesn't matter as much when you're selling your growth story. A lot of people they'll mask the inability to grow revenue with, oh, we're just hiring loads of people. That makes us look big and like we're growing, right? That's why I left.
You're just spending money.
Yeah. You're turning investor money into real estate agent paychecks.
Right.
Yeah. So I think the ideal thing is something along the lines of, high ticket, high touch, boutique service, with a very small team. I'm not going to, if the ghostwriting thing turns out well, I'm not going to scale it to try and become a huge agency servicing everyone. It's going to be like selected number of clients, very, very selective employees that are like top notch, very easy to work with, that I like working with, very easy to deal with. And then maybe scale, if you have a very if you have a good value proposition and you have a very expensive service, you're going to get people who would still find value in that thing that you offer, but can't afford to pay you. And that's where you maybe have a hybrid where you also, instead of a done for you, which would be the service, you can just like show them how they can do it themselves. Mm-hmm. And that would be like some informational thing, which is much lower cost. they can get the how to, but they have to go and implement it. So they have to use their own time, their own resources. Whereas the people that can afford, the high ticket service is they don't have to invest or much time. Everything gets done for them, but in return, they're paying for it.
And now, so your goal is, after you do this ghostwriting thing and you get a few clients under your belt, that you're going to form a team of 2, 3, 4, 5 people, to where the whole team is really attacking the service that the company needs. Is that correct?
Correct. I haven't actually, this is the first time I'm speaking publicly about this ghostwriting thing. So I don't think, at least for now, the way I'm going to pitch it is I've already identified people that I think would benefit the most from it, just because they fit the profile of, like, they have companies, probably too busy to create content, can tell by, their, perhaps, like, their following doesn't reflect their status in the industry. So you want to kind of level those two things out. So yeah, you just find the people who understand the value, but don't have the time to do it themselves, but they've got the money to pay for that. And they understand that they can get a return on that investment.
Sure. Yeah. And it's funny you're saying this, because when I made a shift from being an electrician to being a manufacturer to creating a media company, that was a big leap that didn't seem to cross-pollinate much. But in hindsight, now that I've built whatever we've done with the media company, and I've learned so much by working with my fellow co-hosts, it's like, man, had I used what I know now when I was building those companies, and now I'm looking back at my competitors, like you're saying the influence this company has in relation to the followers that they have and the content they're producing, it's way off. It's almost like they're not even participating in the media game. They're still doing it the old way. And I think you will be able to find companies that would say, absolutely, please bring us up to 2024, because they're still like it's like 2015.
I think a lot of people think we're, like, late on the internet thing, but we're still so early. Like, there's still the business I bought in real estate was still, still had a physical server in their office, so they could only work from the office, because that's where, like, their Microsoft Exchange email server was there and all the data was there. They had old computers, everything, all the payments were being handled by check. I literally replaced the lady with internet banking.
Wow.
Her job was literally signing checks and receiving checks and cashing them.
Yeah.
That was a full-time job.
Yeah. My former company, 90%, maybe right under 90% of my payments were paper checks with ink signed, and the number was written out. And many of the POs I had were pink because it was a carbon copy, handwritten in 2024. That's crazy.
That's crazy, right? I mean, so we just got lucky with the seller was not really paying attention to this business. He wanted to exit it. He was going to probably shut it down. So he was happy he got some money. We had the expertise, and, like, we could see how we could just squeeze the efficiencies out of it. It had solid revenue, solid client base. So it was beautiful. It was like, we literally turned the business around by getting Google Workspace or G Suite or whatever it's called now, and internet banking, and, like, and getting a website.
Now, how will you source your talent? I had 19 employees in the Philippines, but I mean, you get some super talented people that are in jurisdictions that just, for a fraction of the cost. Or do you just go, you want to be in the same city in Dubai, or you just you use the whole planet as your resource of employees that you could pull from?
Yeah, no, for the ghostwriting thing, it will definitely be just top talent from anywhere in the world. It won't be, because it's going to be premium, I'm going to also be hiring and paying amazing people to work with me.
Sure.
With the real, and it will be a case, because I'm so tuned in and plugged into the Bitcoin Twitter ecosystem. I already, like, know people who make content for themselves, who are good writers, who might potentially be interested in and working with me at a later date. Like, the way that I replaced the old employees in my real estate company with new, better people is that I'd been working in Hong Kong real estate for 8 years. And so I already knew brokers that were good, that were working in other places, that I was like, I called them and I said, hey, I did the trick where you call the person you want to hire, but you don't ask them if they want to work for you. You ask them if they know anyone that is interested in this role, and then they go, "Yeah, me."
That was an old fundraising trick. When I was in fundraising, they said, if you want money, ask for advice. If you want advice, ask for money.
Yeah.
Same,
No, I'm
same,
trying to raise money. Do you know anyone who might be interested in, or do you know how I could go about finding some people that want to invest in this thing? Anyway, so that's what I did. And I just immediately knew, I was like, I know one guy who is amazing. He would be perfect for this, to replace the old employee at the company. Phoned him up. I said, hey, just bought a company. We're looking for somebody to fill this role. Do you know anyone who would be interested? And he was like, yeah, me. And then I hired him. So,
wow.
yeah, I did a little bit of, I helped Samson from Jan 3. I helped him. He was running, or he owns BTC Times, so it's the @BTC Twitter handle on Twitter, and I helped him restart that. It sort of died down at one stage, had no writers, etc., and so he brought me on to help him kickstart it again. And I hired a couple of people from Fiverr, one that worked out, but the rest of them was just like people I met on Twitter who were interested in Bitcoin and who could write well enough, for the standard of news articles that we were looking for. And I staffed up 5 people writing articles every day in less than a month.
Right.
So it's just knowing the people in the industry is a massive, when you're in an industry already, it's massive advantage. There's all these little things you don't think of.
Yeah, and it's such a great industry to work in. The people I've met, just the Bitcoiners themselves, I've really enjoyed working around the quality of people. It's something I've heard it called, Bitcoin's a great filter. It filters out. So when you're talking to a Bitcoiner, so many other boxes have been checked off for you to be talking to someone that's in the Bitcoin. And so I've really enjoyed working with everyone I've stumbled across. Have you had that same experience, or is that just me?
No, that's definitely true. I think it's a special kind of, I feel like everyone who really gets Bitcoin is like unplugged from the matrix. They've shattered through the illusion that, I lived in the illusion before. I lived in the matrix before, right? I thought I was smart because I read the Wall Street Journal and whatever it is that I thought used to make me smart. And then I realized they all, reading the Wall Street Journal is just thinking it's insidious because it's presented to you as if you read the Financial Times and the Wall Street Journal and the New York Times, you're an intellectual, you're smart, you're plugged in, you get what's going on in the world, you understand all these things. You don't realize that all these media outlets have an agenda and they're feeding you a propaganda, right? And so are the other ones. Both sides are doing the same thing. Both sides are doing the same thing. So the true unplugging is understanding that it's not being this side is bad and this side is good, or the opposite. It's realizing that they both have an agenda and none of them are 100% right or 100% wrong. And just, being aware of that. You do have to get Bitcoin, you have to be able to shatter that illusion.
Yeah.
And I mean, people in Bitcoin are also this, Bitcoin's about money at the end of the day, right? And to get money, you have to be industrious. You have to be looking to provide value to the world so you can make money, so you can stack sats. So it brings in people who are hardworking or who understand leverage in business. They're entrepreneurs, or they're high performing white collar workers. Well, I mean, there's a bit of everything, right? There's probably there are firefighters and other people teachers who are stacking. But if you want to stack the maximum amount of sats, you are forced to figure out a way that you can get maximum leverage out of the hours you have in your day with your work to make money, right? There's certain occupations where no matter how hard you work, you can only make a certain amount of money, right? And so if you want to stack, I had somebody in my replies today because I tweeted something about that. I said something like life hack, stack enough Bitcoin so that even if things go bad at your job, you still have FU money.
Right.
And somebody replied saying, what about as a teacher? I can only stack 100 pounds of Bitcoin a month. And at the rate it's going up, I'm not going to be able to have enough to have FU money. And it's you probably have to figure out a different way to make money, right? Or start a side hustle. I think in 2024, and I understand it's a mindset thing, but for me in 2024, it's you can teach online You can teach something online, right? You can find 200 to 1,000 people who will pay you, and you can make infinitely more money than as a teacher at a public school, right?
Right.
You still get to teach, but you can just make 5 times more money. And you can probably teach something that you actually enjoy rather than like whatever government curriculum gets set to you.
Right.
But it's scary. People, leaving your job, leaving a income is scary. Seeing the number, like I'm going through this now. I don't have an income yet, right? Because I haven't started doing anything since I left. I left to like upskill, and I was going to give myself some time to figure out what to do. And it's been 8 months, 7 or 8 months, and you see that number in your bank account going down, down. And especially when it's Bitcoin, right? If you have the majority of your net worth in Bitcoin, you're selling Bitcoin, and it's going down. And it's hard. It's hard. Even as an entrepreneur, somebody who knows, I've been there, I've felt that feeling before, and I know what I'm getting myself into. I know why I'm doing it. It's still scary. So never mind for somebody who's like doing it for the first time at later in their life and they have all these responsibilities. I get it. But that's what you have to go through.
Yeah, and that's kind of where I'm at. I haven't made money in 13 months. I retired 13 months ago, and I've just been spending Bitcoin pretty much ever since because I have nothing but Bitcoin. I sold everything. But I timed it right, luckily, to where I would spend money and Bitcoin would just put it right back because it was kind of in a bull run.
Nice.
So that was nice to have, and it wasn't because I was intelligent. That was all luck.
I mean, but you were intelligent enough to recognize the opportunity, study it, and then once you got the value proposition, you were brave enough and bold enough to stack enough that it made a difference when it goes up. I mean, it is a cheat code, right? You can do, we're all 100% richer than we were this time last year.
Exactly.
Right. Exactly. Because Bitcoin went up.
And there's something to be said about having enough money. And when they say FU money, I think people think that means they can go buy a Lamborghini or buy a big yacht. I'm like, no, what you're buying is time.
Correct.
When you can buy a year of your time to just work on your earning potential, like you said, increase your earning potential, increase your knowledge base, start something new. That's where all the brilliance comes from. But when you're in a 40-hour-a-week job that's just a grind, and then you have to try to create something on nights and weekends, that's where you'll wish you had just a nest egg that you could just live off of while you build this thing. There's a lot of pre-revenue. There's a lot of knowledge you got to go acquire, a lot of network you got to build. Like this class you're taking. How long is this class, by the way, that you're taking? Is it like
it's self-paced? It says 8 or 9 weeks, but it's self-paced, and I already know a lot of the content stuff, and I already know some of it's because it's for beginners, right? It's for somebody that's like, that sounds like an interesting career choice. I want to go do this, and they're teaching them from the start. So a lot of the things like I kind of already know. There's like how to craft an offer. Like I've done business before. I kind of understand the building blocks of what a good offer is. For me, it's more about the actual logistics of service. The thing I'm most interested in is like the actual logistics of service delivery. Mm-hmm. Like literally, like what app would I, if a client doesn't want to give me access to their Twitter, how can I tweet from their account without access to their Twitter? There are schedulers that do that, but they limit you in certain ways. So it's just like trying to figure all that kind of stuff out. But some of it is just gonna have to be figured. Like I've figured it out just doing it with my own account and like using the tools, and then it'll be like a learn as I go kind of thing. But you're right about when people are doing an entrepreneurial thing or trying to start a side hustle, it's so important to have the time. I'm the kind of person that like I, number one, can't do anything. I can't put my full heart and soul into anything that I'm not like 100% obsessed with. So like I can't, if I feel like I'm 80%, I'm delivering like, at 80%, I feel bad for I feel bad. I feel like I'm letting whoever I'm working for down, and I just leave. Yeah. So I'm like, I'm not working to my full potential here. And so I also struggle with doing side hustles as well. Like if I'm working full time on something, I struggle to then go home at night and spend 3 hours in the evening doing it or whatever. And if it's something I love, I just want to do it all the time. So yeah, it was not, 4 or 5 years ago, before I bought my real estate business, I had no money saved up. So I got lucky with the timing with buying the real estate business. And then that made decent money, and that I bought stocks in 2020 before the COVID run up. During the crash, I was buying loads of stocks, and then I rolled all of that into Bitcoin, and then the 2021 bull market happened. But again, it's not like I have Lambos and whatever. I've got 2 kids, I've got a wife. At some point in the nearest future, I have to start making money again. But I was just able to buy myself like a certain amount of time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm so glad to hear you speak like that. It makes me feel like I'm not alone. Sometimes you've had this imposter syndrome, like you have to have it all figured out, that you either all in or the side hustle thing. And sometimes you come across guys like David Goggins and Gary Vee, and you try to follow in their footsteps exactly, and it's just off. I would just say, all of us are kind of different, but when I hear you speak, I'm like, oh my gosh, I struggle with all those same things. Like I have to be in something. It's or you won't get, if you're not going to get all of me, you'll get none of me.
Yeah, I'm a very black and white, all or nothing kind of guy. It sounds like you're the same. I think a lot of entrepreneurs are like that, right? And it's how I work best, under extreme pressure. We're like diamonds forged in under extreme pressure. So yeah, I can't imagine, like, I just feel like, talking about this, I feel very fortunate that I just so happened to stumble. It was the way I bought my business and stuff was literally luck. I actually used the Gary Vee principle of working for free. That's how I met my business partner. Yeah. My business partner like did real estate stuff. And I got his like marketing for his properties. And I was like, some of his photos weren't that good, and I was really good at taking my own apartment photos. So I went to see one of his apartments, and I just said to him, "Hey, why don't you let me take photos of this apartment for you, and you can use them?" And he was like, "Oh no, that's okay." And I was like, "Seriously, I'll take photos absolutely free. If you don't like them, you can just bin them." And so I did that, and he was using a paid photographer or taking his own sometimes. And he was like, "Oh, you're obviously better than my photos, and you're also better and free. You did it for free, and you delivered the photos in like 2 hours after you took them, whereas my photographer was taking like a week to return the photos to me, and I edited them and everything." And that's how we struck up a relationship. And then this opportunity came up to buy this business, and we bought it together. But it was through someone he knew. Yeah. So he knew I knew the business, he knew the owner of the business, and that's how we found out that the owner was trying to get rid of it. Yeah. So literally, I bought a business because I took photographs. I did some free work for someone.
Yeah. Yeah. And that whole free thing, just eliminate the barrier to entry. If what's keeping everyone else out is they need a paycheck, that you can walk right through the door and everybody else is not budging. So that is a huge superpower, to just say, let me work for free for 2 weeks for you. And then you just provide your masterpiece to them. And then everyone else is still waiting for their hire date.
Yep.
And you've just walked past the crowd. So,
and people think, oh, well, I have to be paid for my work, otherwise they won't, yeah, sometimes, sure, you can, if you have enough business, you can say no to people. But if you're just like, if you're sitting there, you're making $0, you have no clients, and everyone's saying no to you because of whatever, just get rid of any friction for you to be able to do the work, especially if you're a beginner, because as a beginner, you're paying down ignorance debt, you're learning, and you're building, if you do well, that person might hire you and pay you. And if not, at least you have a case study to point back to and say, hey, I've done this before. Look at these results I got for the last client. Like, the case study is a classic marketing tactic, right? You show, like, look at fitness. This works really well for fitness trainers, right? It's like, look at my client before, look at my client after, rolls, 6-pack. I can do that for you. Nice.
Yeah, you got to have a before and after picture, and those testimonials is powerful too.
Yep. I mean, and the people who sell you, the Andrew Tates of the world, they're doing the same thing, but they're like, look at me driving a Bugatti. Do you want this lifestyle? Sign up to Hustlers University or whatever he sells, right? I'll teach you how to make money just like I do. Or, everyone has this sort of like showing you the lifestyle, showing you the result that you want to get in order to sell you the thing that, the solution.
Yeah. And I'm shocked at how high quality some of these solutions are. So it's funny you mentioned Andrew Tate. I got one video from him and I don't know if it was a pirated video of something of his actual content that they give. And I'm like, everything he's saying is right. Like that is exactly how you scale your business. That's how you scale yourself. They're actually selling what works. The problem is not the secretive nature of what's right. It's how hard it is once you have the thing to do. It's not, you can find out what to do and how to do things for free, or you can pay a little. That's not the problem. The problem is you got to go, David Goggins or Gary Vee on this stuff. Once you get the knowledge, now you just got to go to work. And that, to me, that's the differentiator. Is a lot of people don't want to, they know what to do, but the mission's still hard. It's like knowing how to climb Mount Everest is a lot different than climbing Mount Everest.
There is no matter how much you want to, there's no avoiding the work, the reps that you have to put in the reps. Like you have to, as maybe you can relate to this, like having started several businesses, sometimes I think like, oh, I have to start from the beginning again. And I shouldn't have to go through this. I already had a business. I already had 2 businesses. I already did this and that. But it's a completely new thing, new industry, a new business model, new delivery, new service delivery. You have to go through the reps. I'm going to have to pitch a lot of ghostwriting clients, probably going to fall on my face a few times before I refine the offer to the point where it's like, I'm able to close 3 out of 4 calls that I do. And then it's like service delivery. It's going to take me like probably 15 hours a day to fulfill my clients' work. And then as I get better and more efficient and learn how to just use my time better and become better at creating content and all the rest of it, then maybe I can do it in like 5 hours a day. And then, the rest of the time I used to train someone else to come in and help me. And then that frees up my time to do something else. Or then I work on like an information product, a lower ticket informational product for people that can't afford the high ticket thing or whatever. Right. But yeah, you have to put in the reps. You have to, I remember preparing for viewings when I was a new agent and, I wouldn't know where the place was like in the city. I wouldn't know the building. I didn't know who the landlord was. And then by the end of it, like I knew every street, every building, every landlord. I knew the properties that were off the market and on the market. If somebody came to me at the beginning and said, hey, I want this like style of house in this place, I wouldn't know if it's possible or not because I didn't know the market. 3 years, and I might spend hours looking and then searching and then to figure out that it's not possible. Whereas 3 years later, they say, I want this kind of place in this kind of, this kind of neighborhood. I'm like, impossible. It doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I've heard it phrased, time in the game beats timing the game.
Yeah.
So many times we want to time, and timing is important. And a lot of times that's just luck, though. It's out of your control, but putting in the reps, that's in your control. And that's what it takes to master anything, because it's in those little nuances. And it's amazing the time hacks you find when you're on your 100th rep or your 100th video or your 1,000th, whatever. It's like you look back on those first 10 you did and are almost embarrassed that you even posted that stuff versus where you are today, where you just know so much.
But it's awesome that you have to, if you don't look back at your past work and you're like, that was embarrassing, then that means you haven't grown.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Sure, you might have a banger from like the past that's like, oh, that was pretty good. Right. But most of it should be like, oh, cringe.
Yeah. It's funny you say that. Weston said, it's funny. He's only like 28 years old, and I learned so much from him. He's the Tuesday host, but he says it's climbing Mount Cringe, where you just have to be not afraid to just do terrible.
I mean, the guys I'm, the guys who I'm learning, content and ghostwriting and stuff from, there, some of them are like 23, or the oldest one is like 31. He had a ghostwriting agency before. And I'm like, I'm 30, I'm turning 37. And yeah, I've had my own businesses and stuff, but I'm sitting there and I'm like, this 23-year-old kid's incredible. And I don't think like, oh, I can't learn from a 23-year-old. What does he know? I'm better. I know more. No, I'm just like, these guys just have their shit together in this specific thing. They really know what they're talking about. And you just, you just learn. I don't even, the only reason I think of the age is to think like, wow, they're so much further ahead of me at that age than I was. Like I was a reprobate. So yeah, but I think some people will get stuck on the age thing. Like, oh, but it's just a kid, or I'm a failure because I'm like 37 sitting here learning from a 23-year-old. But I just think it's incredible, and that we have access. The internet gives us access to these people and this information that you would imagine living before the internet.
Yeah.
Right. Imagine living before there were books and the printing press.
Oh my
Right.
gosh.
We've got like the printing
history.
Yeah, exactly. Like, how did information, like right now, the information, the how to do anything is literally a 10-second chat GPT prompt or Google search away, right?
Right.
At least to get started. Imagine before you had to like drive to a library, physically walk through corridors, trying to find the right book and open pages and flick through it, trying to find the right, read the index. Like, we've become so much more efficient and like the tools that we have available. We've become so much more efficient and effective. Our productivity, well, I guess it is kind of going through the roof compared to then. Yes, it definitely is, with technology and stuff like that. But yeah, I think people don't stop to think about how. I was on another podcast earlier this morning, and I was just like, I'm still the most bullish on is the internet. I think the internet is incredible. It's the great equalizer for the world.
And,
right?
and most people don't realize a lot of the global population still does not have the internet, and the mobile revolution paired with what Elon's doing with SpaceX and Starlink, that is going to plug in an additional 4 billion minds to the hive mind that is planet Earth. And it reminds me of, you remember the Matrix when Neo said, I need to just learn how to fly. I need to learn how to fly a helicopter. I think it was the girl, I forget her name. And she just uploads how to fly this whatever helicopter, and she's got it. And when I used to work with my hands or go do something in the car, I was like, how to change an alternator in a Honda, whatever, and you press play, and there's like 10 videos, and you're like, okay, that's it. And then it's almost like you're going to fly the helicopter. It's not that much different nowadays when you want to learn how to do something.
Yeah, I mean, YouTube is amazing for how to, and you're right. I mean, it's going to be insane when we can just upload knowledge into ourselves, and like that there's some system that makes us just do the thing without us having to learn it in a way, right? Where you can literally just like insert a program. But at that point, like, what is the difference between machines and humans at that point?
Yeah.
It's like, okay, maybe we're sentient, we have feelings. It would be amazing to be able to be programmed at the level that a computer can be programmed to do stuff, but also have like, the human part of it too.
Yeah. To me, the great thing about our meat brain is its efficiency. And I think that's the chasm that computers, man, that's a big one to crack. The only person I see solving it is Elon, because he has a battery. He does not have, he can't plug into the grid and use unlimited power to power his supercomputer. He's got this very finite thing on wheels. And he's like, this is all the power you get. So your compute better be very efficient. Otherwise, you're going to just, the car trying to drive will just drain the battery because it's thinking so much. And a lot of people might not know this, but your brain consumes half the power. 2 pounds consumes half of the power of the body. And so
I didn't know that.
Thinking is actually a big power drain. But the human mind puts forth, I forget it. I forget the number. It's an insane number. Exahash. I think it's 1 exahash for 20 watts. That's insanely efficient. And so, yeah, I too can't wait till we can just download info. I think we're almost there, especially with Neuralink and YouTube. We just got to connect YouTube and Neuralink somehow.
But man, is that gonna? I'm not. I don't have a judgment on it, but I just want just a thought that popped into my head is like, is that gonna take the beauty out of some of life? Because I do enjoy learning new things and immersing myself in the topic, and like the discovery aspect of new information or new skills. And if we can just like insert a microchip into our head and everything, or you know how to do, you either understand and have the information in your head, or you're like have the physical ability to do something.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't that take away some of that? It's like taking a pill that makes you happy versus like experiencing happiness because of something you're doing naturally, I guess.
Yeah. So how I think about that is I have experienced certain parts of infinite. And so when you think about loving a child or loving a person, it's like, just because you love them today, tomorrow you're still full. And it's like, how can I continue to grow in love? Or passion for Bitcoin is another great example. Like the people that are at the very tip of the spear of Bitcoin, they have a respect for the infinite nature of it. Same thing with astronomy, same thing with, when you go to the small and to the big. And I think inside the human mind, it's infinity. And so I think we're just going to go into the infinity faster, but I don't think we ever reach the end of what man can feel, what he can create, what he can think about. It's just going to be like adding the electric grid to humanity. And now we're bolting on the internet, and then we're going to bolt on a massive bandwidth between our mind and the internet. But I don't think you get to the end of what's up here. I've seen infinite enough that I'm like, it's enough. It's like, you ever seen that little patch of sky that the Hubble telescope stared into, where it's like every speck is a whole galaxy?
Yeah.
That's the human mind. I don't think we get to this.
I hope you're right. That would be awesome.
It is quite scary. So we didn't even get to talk about your book at all or anything like that. We got to do this again. I enjoyed this conversation so much. And
Me too.
I want to learn more about your business. I mean, definitely tell us about it, and maybe you can even recruit other people on our show as we get more and more.
That would be awesome.
Exciting. It's going to work, Daniel. I 100% know what you're doing is going to work. Like, I've been around business enough. The delta between these very wealthy companies that have marketing dollars to spend, that are spending them massively inefficient compared to what you're going to offer, you're going to kill it.
Thank you, sir. I hope so. I still feel like, obviously I feel like the potential is there, but I don't get, I'm excited about doing it, but I don't get excited about, like, I'm not already living the end result. Like, I want to go do it, show that I can do it, do a really great job, have happy clients, work with awesome people, make money, stack more Bitcoin, make the world a better place, make the world a more efficient place, spread the Bitcoin message, help Bitcoin companies service their clients better, and then just take care of my family and enjoy life.
Mm-hmm. Oh, my prediction is 12 months from now, you are not going to recognize yourself.
I hope so. I hope so. I already don't, the jump from, I remember when I started my Twitter account and I got the little first taste of like a tweet popping off or whatever. Mm-hmm. I said to my wife, I was like, you'll, in like 2-3 years from now, I'll be working in Bitcoin. That's what I said. And it was like 4 months later, I, had a job in Bitcoin. But for me, it's really, just getting back to building my own business again. Because that's how, if I'm not doing my own business, I feel like I'm not being like congruent with my identity. I identify as like an entrepreneur, business person. So when I have a job, there's like a disconnect between myself and like the thing I'm doing, right? Or my identity, how I identify, and the thing I'm doing. That's not to say like a job is bad or anything like that. It's just that, like, I have such a strong sense of that entrepreneurial identity that if I'm not doing it, I'm not 100%, in line with myself.
Yeah, I see it. I see it in you. You're going to do fine. I'm not afraid for you at all.
Thank you.
I can't wait to see what you do, man. Keep us posted. Come onto the show anytime and keep us updated. And if you ever need any help or somebody to bounce an idea off, please reach out to me. I'm excited to see what you're doing. And I'm kind of chasing you in a similar way, totally different, but similar. And so I think we'll end up making a lot of similar connections.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I've made an entrepreneur friend in you, which I love because I don't have that many entrepreneurial friends. So it's always nice to have people who are, on that same path. And the same for you. I'm deep in the media stuff, so I'm always happy to talk about, like, I love nerding out about, the written stuff, like how to title something so it pops, or, even a little bit of thumbnail stuff. So if you ever want to chat about anything to do with your media stuff, feel free to hit me up.
Yes.
I'll do the same for you.
So the thing I'm trying to master now is the live video content. It is something I launched about 3 weeks ago. I did the live audio, obviously, for 270 straight days. But I'm like, video is just so gripping and powerful. And you can you feel a connection with a face, okay, and personality. But the interview is it's almost like it's created real time, like we've been talking, and it's almost like a dance that we have between each other, two personalities coming together. And there's something that for me, I have always enjoyed that. I've enjoyed watching Michael Saylor be interviewed 100 times. I've enjoyed Jeff Booth being interviewed 100 times. I've enjoyed Peter McCormick interviewing all the above hundreds of times. I am a consumer of what I want to create. And I'm like, the great thing about live content though, is there is no production. It's just go live and then you're done. And
no
it's
editing.
There's no going back and editing. And so what it does is it forces the interviewer to just hone that skill, kind of like the street artist, that he just paints it right in front of you and then sells it to you. And in New Orleans, we have street artists all the time. They'll just take you and your family and your wife, and they will paint you live right there. And then you buy the thing that you just saw them made, and it's beautiful. And I think that's, with all this editing going on online, it's like sometimes I think man just has a desire to see something that's unedited, real, because life is unedited. But online, it's like so much is edited. So anyway, I don't know if it'll work, but I know I'll enjoy it. We'll see.
I mean, it has to part from there, because if you're not enjoying it, you're not going to do it for long enough for it to work, right? You're not going to be able to put in all the reps if you're hating every minute of it, or at least it's going to be, you have to have a lot of grit, and it's just going to be a lot harder to do. But if, you know, what is work to others is play to you, that means that you will out rep all of them. Yes. And, you know, I've been on, you know, my fair share of podcasts now, and I can, you ask great questions, but you're also a great conversationalist. You chime in with your own stuff as well, which is really nice. So yeah, you do a great job. And I think on the point you're making about, you know, everything is so edited online, and that life isn't edited, that's so true. And if you observe content that's popping off on YouTube now is sort of like talking head unedited videos. Like I don't know if you follow Alex Hormozy.
No, but I know who that is. I don't follow him.
Yeah, he's a great one. If you're, you know, if he's like the new Gary V, but more tactical advice for entrepreneurs. So highly recommend. I mean, if you start watching it, you're probably going to go down a wormhole, and he is pumping out content like nothing. He's got a great book called $100 Million Offers. It is incredible for if you're starting a business and you want to know how to craft an irresistible offer, as he calls them. It's a whole book just on how to craft an offer. Wow. It's fantastic. Yeah. So he was doing a lot of like highly edited Mr. Beastified style content. And then now it's like just him sitting at a table talking for like 45 minutes without edits.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he's getting way higher engagement, more views. People are saying like, I love this content more than I do your like highly edited stuff.
Yeah. And I can't remember which of the guys said it. I learned it on my philosophy show. It might have been Socrates or it might have been Plato. One of them wrote nothing down. And he said, because he hated writing because it destroyed the memory. You needed to have at your fingertips and be skilled enough to just have the argument real time without having to look things up and remember things. And that's when the live content light bulb went off for me. It's like, I need to be more skilled. I don't need to know more. I need to be able to kind of wield my sword, not know what sword to wield, but just be that guy that did the same kick 10,000 times. And that just takes reps, like you said. It just takes a lot of reps.
Yep. Yeah. I think you're right. You build better skills because you don't have the crutch of the edits or the technology to like fix the things that you're not good at. And you have the beauty of not having to do post-production, which is a huge time saver.
Yeah, that's bad. Well, it's been awesome. Let's maybe in a couple of months, I'd love to check in with you and do this again. I've really, really enjoyed it. And I know if I'm getting a lot out of it, my viewers are also getting a lot out of this conversation. So,
well, I mean, I hope so. If not, I had a great time chatting with you. But yeah, I hope that other people who were sort of flies on the wall for this conversation. It's crazy to think like it feels like it's just you and I chatting, but this is going out to the internet and potentially like some other people are seeing it. Hopefully.
Oh
So
yeah.
yeah. Thank you very much for having me. I'd love to come back on in a couple of months and hopefully have some progress to report on.
Fantastic, man. Well, have a great day and good luck with everything and keep us posted.
And you as well, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Okay. Had a little technical glitch. I think we're back live. Just wanted to thank Daniel for coming on the show today. Man, I love that. I did not even anticipate that we were going to have that kind of conversation. That's the beauty of live content. I thought we were going to talk about his book and Bitcoin, but as you can see, man, Bitcoiners are just so rich in their knowledge and wisdom and just who they are. That's why I love highlighting these people. But again, Craig LeBlanc with the Bitcoin Daily Show here every day, 8 to 10. I've got some unbelievable hosts and friends alongside of me. So if you want to join us, please tune in on X every day, 8 to 10 a.m. Eastern. And on Saturday, we have a second show, 10 to 12. So hope to see y'all there. See y'all in the morning. Love y'all. Let's go stack some sats.